Landscape, you're going to need a piece of paper towel, a little cup of water. You're going to need a paintbrush or two. There's different sizes and kinds of these. The paintbrushes and the water cups and the paper towels are all found by the sink. You also need your watercolor pencils that you're going to use. Just a little note, you want to make sure that they are actually watercolor pencils. So sometimes what happens is people take the Prismacolor regular color pencils and they get in the boxes of watercolor pencils. So you should, this is a watercolor pencil. So if you see anything that says Prismacolor, don't use it because it's a colored pencil. It's not a watercolor pencil. So like all these are watercolor pencils. This Kimberly says watercolor on it. This Sargent says watercolor pencil. I can't read it watercolor on this one, but I know that it is. So we have Prismacolor brand colored pencils, and then we have all different other kinds of brands of watercolor pencils, just so you know, okay? There's also hand sharpeners in the boxes. You want to use a hand sharpener to sharpen these. You don't want to sharpen these in the colored pencils, or in the regular pencil sharpeners, because they'll get ruined. So you can sharpen these like onto a piece of paper towel or right into the garbage can. Okay, you might not want to get them super sharp, but you can. It'll kind of depend on the area that you're trying to fill in. So I'm going to sharpen a couple of these. All right. To get started, first things first is you need to decide what color you want to put where. So the best thing is just to pick something. So I'm thinking about doing like the oranges in the sky up here. I'm going to actually work upside down. A little bit on an angle so you can see this. Actually, no. I think I'm going to do a green sky. Let's go green sky. Let's see how this works out. Okay, so I got some greens here. So you use watercolor pencils like you would use a regular colored pencil. So you're actually going to shade, and you can push down harder in some spots and then go lighter in others. And you want to fill in the space that you're going to then paint right over the top of these. They're really cool. So what I like to do is to make this more unique. Like anybody could take this colored pencil, this watercolor pencil, and fill in this space with a green. But what it's going to make more unique and more mine is if I start to blend colors together. So maybe I'll start with that green in the sky, and then maybe I'll go over the top with this other green a little bit in some places. Maybe not in all places, maybe just like around these clouds, so that kind of like more yellowy green sort of stands out. So you can shade just like you would a regular pencil or a colored pencil. You know, if you push down harder on the watercolor pencil, you're going to get a darker value. If you go lighter, you're going to get a lighter value. And you're going to see what's going to happen here in a minute when I add my water. So what I like to do is fill in an area. So I would probably fill this whole sky. But I'm just going to get started here, so I want to show you this. So then, to actually activate these, you need to take your paintbrush. Now you need to use an appropriate size brush for the space that you're filling. I wouldn't want to choose this size brush and try to fill in this small space here because I'm going to make a big mess with the water. So I'm going to go with a smaller brush. I'm going to dip it in my water, and then I'm going to tap off some of the extra water onto my paper towel. That's why you have a paper towel. So I'm going to knock off some of the extra water. And then I'm just going to start painting right over the top of the pencil, the color here. Do you see how that activated the paint? So I actually can pull some of this extra paint pretty wide. So I just am rinsing my brush again. So I'm tapping off some of the extra water. And I'm going to paint right over the top of this. So I can bring some of this extra paint down. So I kind of like these flat brushes. I like the control that you can have with them. So what I've done is I've created some value here. So I've got some really light green happening, and then I have some areas that are a little bit darker. But that's much more interesting to look at than just one flat green. So I'm going to keep going. You can use these watercolor pencils in other ways too. You can actually take these and you can dip them in the water, and it gives you it gets like the tip of the watercolor really like opaque. You'll get a real opaque color, almost like an opaque line. So if you want a really bold area, you could do something like this. So maybe I'll start with this kind of olivey green here. Maybe I'll mix, put another one, so I'm going to dip that end of that pencil in there. So the thing with this though is once you dip these in the water, you cannot sharpen them. Okay, they have to dry first. So then I'm going to dip in my water, tap off some of that extra water here, and then I'm going to use my paintbrush and kind of pull some of that paint up. So it gives you a much bolder line. So the other thing is if you think you mess up, there's not really a mess up. I mean, you can overwork this paper, so if you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth 100 times with the water, you are going to make a hole in the paper. So you do want to be a little bit careful with how you use these, but what you can do is if you're frustrated with it, you can just let it dry, and then once it's dry, we can look at it again and we can make it better. So you can go back over the top once these are dry and add more color and reactivate the paint a little bit. So I'm going to keep working on this. Just take your time. Don't rush. Remember to do a lot of nice shading. If you have really scribbly pencil lines, those are going to show. You kind of want to use less pressure on the pencil and sort of fill in nice soft values. And then go right over the top with your paintbrush and it'll activate that paint. Almost dry up here, so if I wanted to, I could go back. Like let's say I wanted this darker. I could even come back, go over the top. Maybe I even use a little bit of my black, my neutral color. Now I'm going to go really lightly with this. Like I'm hardly putting any pressure down. Ooh, right there, that's really dark. You can see the difference. I'm going really light up here. Get my paintbrush. Kind of smudge that color right in. Okay. All right, come see me with questions. I'm here to help you.